All right, welcome everyone to a very special episode of WGON Network presented by the George A. Romero Foundation. We're doing a live watch-along of several films, and we have joining us right now the COO of the GARF, Mr. Jeff Whitehead. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm well. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, thank you.
Doing good.
Great. Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, before we get started, we wanted to have Jeff come on and speak about the GARF, several of their initiatives, and maybe some things they have coming up. And we'll go ahead and give you the floor, Jeff.
Sure thing, and thanks. So appreciate being here, and I'm looking forward to the watch party tonight. As all of you know, this is a relatively somber day in George Romero land, but we also have cause for celebration. And so even though this is the anniversary of George's passing, it also serves as the first day of the concept of the foundation. And October will be 2 years old officially, and we will have made enormous strides in the horror community, not just in Pittsburgh, but we think around the country, at trying to serve as a point of contact and as a focal point and as a uniter and unifier of all of our respective works. So we have made some really impressive accomplishments over these last 2 years, not least of which is the completion of The Amusement Park, which is a very little known film of George's, and we'll be very proud to be able to bring that to everybody very soon. It had its Pittsburgh premiere in October, and we then premiered it in New York in January before we shut everything down. And we really hope that we'll be able to have everybody take a look at it very soon, within the next 6 months, we hope. So look forward to that. We've also worked very hard with the University of Pittsburgh to work on the Horror Studies collection, the Horror Studies Archive, where we are having works from the horror universe, not just George, even though he anchors it as the first and one of the most important people who have contributed. But now we are regularly receiving contributions from really amazing people in the field, including our good friend Dan Krause, and some others who will be able to roll out officially over these next few months. So what we're trying to do is leverage that into a real studies center so that Pittsburgh and the University of Pittsburgh becomes a place for people to come to study horror, to learn about how these things are made and to celebrate all of the creators of this genre, as well as to talk about its social importance and the impact that it can have, and the things that it can say about society in a way that other genres of film, writing, literature, and poetry cannot. And we're very excited to be able to roll out a lot of these things. I know that some of our peers from the library are on with us tonight, and I'm very excited to see what they have in store moving forward. I also mentioned that we are working on a horror studies community in Pittsburgh, and we're going to formalize that this year with a horror studies scholarly community, which will feature not just professors from around this area as well as the world, but also scholars in practice. So we've got several very, very important people coming on board to help mentor students, to provide access to the insides of their minds through formats like this, as well as to run some very special events with us. We'll be running an event with Rusty Cundiff to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Tales from the Hood. We'll be running some events with John Harrison to celebrate the anniversary of Tales from the Dark Side and others. We're also hoping to run some anniversary events for The Howling with our friends Joe Dante and Dee Wallace, and some other people and things as we go out throughout the year. Obviously, we really hope to do all of these things in person. And so at some point, maybe we'll be able to do that again. But for the time being, we're working on electronic means to bring all of this to you, so that you can have some access to these people, get to know folks like we have, and really try to make this community very small, so that everybody gets to see and hear from the people who are creating everything in this genre. As I mentioned, we turned 2 in October, and so we launched our first letter today, our first newsletter today. So if you haven't had it, do subscribe. We're going to archive it so that you can see it tonight. It's got all sorts of interesting information, including some really special things coming up, not least of which is the launch of Dan Krause's book, which, for those of you who do not know, was an unfinished work of George Romero's. It was one of the last things that he was writing, and we worked, the family worked with Dan to finish the book, notably Sue's, George's widow, has been in lockstep with Dan the entire way. That book comes out in early August, and so we'll be doing some major campaigning for him to help with the book, and we're going to also welcome him into a very special event in a little bit, sometime throughout the summer and into the fall, so that he can do some readings from the book, as well as talk to people about the process of writing it and trying to get inside of George's mind to finish this masterwork. It is an enormous book, and it's got so many interesting layers. We really have appreciated everything that Dan has been able to bring to the table to make this thing come to life. We've also discovered all sorts of treasures in the archive, and we do hope to be able to make that public within the year, within the next academic year. So hopefully by next summer. We were delayed a little bit, obviously, by the virus and shutting things down. But we do hope to be able to welcome people to view the materials pretty soon, including a special exhibit that we'll have on display in the library itself. So lots in store for us. And I do want to.
I wanted to ask you a question about that.
By all means.
The archive. What is the plans for that? If you can speak on that a little bit.
Sure. So the archive is a place for scholars and the public to come, particularly once everything is cataloged, and have a look at the process of making this art. And so eventually, and it's growing day by day. In fact, I know that some people whose names you'll know are contributing to it as well, so that we can create a full picture of the creative process, so that people who are interested in really getting inside the material have a way to look at it. And some of the things that have been discovered, the letters, the early drafts of scripts, early cuts of things, marketing materials, some of the correspondence with financiers and producers and things like that, just give you a really fascinating look at how this art is made and how it goes from concept to screen. And likewise, how it goes from page to literature, because it's a celebration of the entire genre. So we'll be welcoming authors as well as filmmakers into the archive as we go. So the aim of it is for this to be the biggest, best, maybe only really full horror studies archive in the world. We do boast that we have the world's first archivist for horror studies, and we'd like to keep him busy. So we're hoping to be able to continue to add to that collection as we go, so that people will be able to see things online, of course, as we catalog them and as we make them available to the public. But as people come through Pittsburgh and have an interest in seeing things in person, they'll be able to do some of that too.
Excellent. And then you mentioned the newsletter earlier. Inside of that newsletter, there was a mention of a film festival in 2021. Can you?
We will be doing that. Yeah, we will spill a little bit about that tonight, since it's exciting. We had hoped to be able to do this this year, and so what we'll be doing is we'll be rolling out a really special film festival in 2021. We'll probably launch this fall, and some of our friends, Adam Hart and others, are working on putting this together behind the scenes. So we're pretty excited about bringing that to all of you, and we'll have some more detail on what that entails and how we can be a part of it, how you all can be a part of it as we go, as well as a couple of other surprises that I'll keep under my hat for now, but pull out later. This is a year for us to be celebrating. I will mention it's a year for us to be selling the female creators of horror. And so we'll also be working with some of the people that we know who are on the female creation side to really pull some interesting things together that I think people will really enjoy. We've got now a full-blown PhD from Pitt, whose mission is to make sure that female creators are celebrated. And so we'll have some interesting some work, including a mini festival at least of those creators too.
Okay, excellent.
So my question, and I was thinking about it when you said it, what makes you think right now is the time to have a horror archive or archivist? Like what do you think has brought us to this stage where when we were all growing up, horror was at the, in the back of the video store and we didn't talk about it?
So it's a really good question, Matt, and it's obviously a personal passion for all of us. But what I think we've seen, particularly over the last 20 years, is that the public, and this is more general public than just the people who are real fans and horrorphiles like ourselves, have started to understand the thinking behind the creative process, where they are now seeing Right. These are creators of content who are making things that actually say something about society. And so we can actually use these films as a way to access, to process, and to analyze what is going on in our society. And so, particularly in times like this, where we actually, even though it's a very sad and troubling time, it allows us to look back over these films, including some of the ones you'll see tonight, Night and Day, and some of the other works that George did, such as The Crazies, for instance. Obviously, there's enormous, very, very easy to see parallels between that film and what's going on right now, which we don't need to explain much further. But if you take a look at some of the questions that are raised in Day, for instance, how the relation between science and religion, the relation between humanity and the zombie monster, and how you might be able to bring some of that humanity back to a zombie or to a ghoul, as it were, are all things that actually say something about society. And so what I think has happened is there has been a pivot and a recognition from the film community as well as the general public that suggests that they now understand a little bit more than they did when these things were in the back of the video cabinet at Blockbuster, that they can actually process the problems that they may see, the things that they're encountering in society in a healthy and interesting way, and talk about them. What we think in terms of horror creation is that most, if not all of it, actually serves a purpose besides scaring people, even though we all like that too. That there is this deeper mission behind it to make people aware of some of the issues that they may not want to talk about in other formats, or it might be difficult to grasp and hard for them to process. This genre in particular allows, we think, people as horror people, the ability to see behind the lens, to really get in deep into some of these problems and draw parallels that we think are interesting and important, all the way from the early founding of horror to today. It's very interesting to watch some of these films again. I watched The Hills Have Eyes not but a couple of weeks ago to see just how scary that still is in modern times, because it still has the same message, and the same message is still relevant. And so even the horror piece of it stays scary, but so does the underlying message. And so we like the idea that it's time to really study this. It's time to figure out what these people were thinking as they were making these pieces of art, and bring that to the public so they can see that this is a real legitimate art form and a way to process the things that they're seeing around them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just goes to the timelessness of horror films. You can watch The Hills Have Eyes, and it was made in the 70s, and outside of the technical aspects of the film and the clothing and the styles, it just transcends the last 40 some years. And we see that with Night at 52 years. And I mean, just, it all comes around. At some point, it's almost like horror filmmakers were looking into the future and like, we're going to get to this point. I'm going to show you where you're going to get to. And it's almost like a fortune teller. They're looking into the crystal ball and, hey, what's going to scare people? Oh, we haven't talked about this yet. Let's make a movie about this. And it's just so weird how it's more relevant than a lot of other types of films.
That's right. And so part of what we're trying to do is actually let people see that crystal ball in a way that wasn't formerly possible. And so for creators such as, Sue's and George's family to entrust the institution with those materials allows us to actually bring those things to the public so they can actually see the thought processes behind that, to figure out what concessions need to be made as you are making a film, for financiers and for producers and for writers and things like that, so you can see how things change over time. Some of the initial concepts look very different than their final footage in the theater, and that whole thing is all very interesting because you find that from start to finish, the kernels of what the artists are trying to accomplish are there in the end still, even though a lot has changed in the middle, from start to finish. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, I'm surprised that, horror films have covered such a wide area in that genre, and we still get something new and fresh. And it's amazing how real life can be so horrifying in and of itself, and then when you put it in a horror film, you just crank it to 11 and it just absolutely floors you, and you go to escape and then you come back and go, man, that really hit a nerve. Horror films get people thinking more than other people tend to believe, and they just feel they're the hack and slash kind of stuff. But a lot of horror films, you can come out, if you're really watching it, you'll see that subtle message, and sometimes it hits you over the head. Sometimes you got to dig a little bit, but it's always relevant.
That's exactly right, and that's the mission of the foundation of the horror studies community in Pittsburgh, is to try to make sure people understand that. Of course, the foundation has got its mission to find and cultivate artists as well. And so not just to study it, but also to help make these creators. And so we also hope that by virtue of having such a place and such a thing, that we can actually find more people with these types of interesting ideas, bringing some diversity, bringing a female voice, bringing even the voices of children into the creation of these materials, so that we can really dig into the human psyche and hopefully find some people who are really talented to make some very, very cool art for us to enjoy.
So someone that's interested in helping out the GARF, what would you advise for them at this point in time?
So if you're interested in helping, financially or otherwise, contact us. There is on our webpage, which is www.thegarf.org. You can find a contact page, as well as pages for donation, should that be a prospect for you. We also we're about to roll out some really new and exciting tools as well. So the first version of the website, which we built 2 years ago, literally as we're speaking, will not be the final version of the website. In fact, we have some people working behind the scenes right now to really give everything a facelift. And so we'll be using some new tools, which will be even easier to access and to provide some additional perks for folks who want to come along for the ride with us.
Excellent.
Yeah, the GARF website is great. I got a chance to read the newsletter. It just came out just a little bit ago. It was in my inbox, and it's just always nice when you see George's name in your inbox, and there's always something there. And I know Eric and I are very appreciative of the work you guys have done to get the foundation to this point, and just the fact that there is a foundation. And on such a day where we all want to be sad that we miss George, and that he's no longer here, you and Suze and everybody else involved, we can't thank you guys enough. We love the fact that this is possible. It's great to see it from the start, and really see just in 2 years how far you've come. Mm-hmm. And in 2 more years, once we get out of 2020, we can go do things again, and we can be in the same spot and celebrate in person. And I think this will help get that community even tighter, and the excitement building, because we can't go anywhere. So what do? We're going to sit inside and watch movies. Well, let's watch our favorites, and let's watch what GARF can do behind the scenes while we're locked down, so that when we can come see it, it's there and ready for us.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what we're hoping to do. There's some big lofty aspirations, from a brick and mortar museum all the way to making Pittsburgh sort of the epicenter for horror studies and scholarly pursuits, and all those things seem like they're so far away. But when we look back over these last 2 years to see how much has been accomplished, and it is the work of the GARF, but it's also the work of the community. I mean, everybody has pitched in. It's been a labor of love for lots and lots of folks. We are extremely appreciative to the fan base, to you guys, to people who have been welcoming of the foundation and all of its pursuits. And we just hope that we can continue keeping on here with y'all, so that we can do some pretty amazing things.
I'd
be remiss if I didn't thank you guys for having me on, and thanking Ramona and Chris for helping to put this together with us. I'll look forward to watching the films with you all, and hopefully we'll be able to watch them all in person at some point together.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal, is to get back together and celebrate these things in a theater.
There you go. Yeah, no, and if you can sign up for the newsletter at the GARF website.
That's right. Yeah,
amazing job on that. Whoever put that together, that was an amazing.
It's Chris Devrakis. Credit where credit is due. We did a little bit with the content, and Chris really made it magical for us. So, like I've said, it's a lot of hands. It's a lot of volunteer work, yourselves included, as a passion project and as a labor of love to celebrate not just George, but also what we all do and love in the horror community. So yeah, we'll give full marks to Chris for putting together a wonderful first newsletter. We're hoping to publish them every quarter, so that people will have something to look forward to. And we do I've written to Suze on this front too. We've got some interesting surprises moving forward for that thing too. So we hope it just keeps getting better and better, and people really look forward to its content every time it comes out.
Definitely.
No, I mean, the appetite is there. You just got to keep feeding us. Let's go. Well,
right on. And so as we remember George, I also do, and I know that you'll talk a little bit about this tonight too. I want to remember Richard as well, as one of the paragons and pioneers of this whole thing. I mean, he's a Pitt alum, and I know that he did a lot of work at the University of Pittsburgh with George while George was in CMU and then not anymore. And so I know that they did a lot of interesting stuff together. And there's the legend that Richard is the person that handed him the book "I Am Legend" all those years ago. So I would like us to keep Richard and his family in our thoughts as well. And then also, of course, remember George on this somber but celebratory day for what the future may hold.
yeah, I could only imagine if George knew we were doing this. He'd go, "What are you doing? Why are you watching these again?" You know, I could hear his voice and see his hands going. Haven't you watched these enough? And
yeah, I mean, my own personal story on this front is ridiculous. I can still remember some of the first times I saw these movies when I was just a kid, and we used to do the sleepover parties all the time where we just stay up and drink only sodas ever, and eat pizza and things like that, and watch these movies over and over again. So it's also really personally gratifying for me to be able to celebrate with all of you and continue the legacy of this work, to continue the legacy of these films, and what we think is a really important thing to do.
Absolutely, and we're happy to help you. And obviously, anything you need in the future, just let us know, and we're right here for you. And this is your key demographic. So
yeah. So
all right, I think Jeff, you're going to step off, and
yep, I'm going to get in the back seat and watch along.
Okay, and we'll see you back for
Yep.
the intermission feature.
Yep. Thanks,
All right.
guys. Take care.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Jeff.
thanks, Jeff.
All right, and for those of y'all coming in late, that was Jeff Whitehead, COO of the GARF, the George A. Romero Foundation, and they're doing a bang out job. They're 2 years old now, and they've already made some huge strides, and they've got a lot more on the horizon. So check out their website and support them if you can. And if you see them at a convention, be sure to stop by, say hello, and they have all sorts of interesting goodies to purchase. We've had a couple questions about how we're going to be doing the Day of the Dead screening. I do want to mention after Day of the Dead, we do have 2 other features that will be shown within the stream that won't require any DVD or Blu-ray queuing up. But Matt, will you run down real quick how folks are going to get synced up for Day of the Dead?
All right. So everybody grab your favorite Blu-ray, DVD, Laserdisc, or VHS copy of Day of the Dead. Whatever your preferred format is, we're fans of physical media. So
I'll interject there. Maybe not Laserdisc, because you got to flip inside. It'll be difficult to stay.
So however it is you're queuing up the movie, go ahead and get it started. Put your Blu-ray or DVD in the player, and go ahead and queue it up. And when you get to the opening scene with Laurie sitting in the concrete room, and you see United Film Distribution Company presents, go ahead and pause it right there. It should be about 6 or 7 seconds on the time code on your Blu-ray or DVD player. And when we get the feature started, we'll give you a big 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown and press play. Throughout the movie, Eric and I...
We're starting on play.
Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play. Click.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're going to be talking throughout the movie. We're going to have special guests. Keep chatting away. I can almost be certain that pretty much throughout the movie, when certain lines come up, people are going to be sitting in their homes, shouting back at the TV. I will do my best to not pull out my inner roads on camera, but we all do. I can only make promises for so much. And we chose Day of the Dead tonight, one, because it's Eric's personal favorite George Romero zombie film. No, I'm just kidding. We talked about that a lot, but Day is always relevant. It's one we've all seen, but it's also one we all celebrate. Anytime we go online and we see people talking about Day of the Dead, it's super quotable. It's got a lot of, it's got a lot of George humor. It's got a lot of dark stuff. It's a fun film to watch, even if the subject matter isn't always as fun. And then we'll do our intermission feature. Like Eric said, we're going to queue it up right here on the feed, so you guys do not have to do anything, and you'll be able to listen and watch right along. And then we're going to queue up Night of the Living Dead afterwards. Mm-hmm. So this one, just sit back and have fun. Continue to comment, ask questions. I'm certain everybody here has seen this movie at least twice, or we wouldn't be watching it again. I think, grab a beer. Grab your popcorn, sit and relax. This is going to be a fun night. I do want to thank Eric for helping with a lot of the technical aspects, Chris and Ramona for all the behind the scenes stuff and helping this get together. And I do want to, send just a heartfelt shout out to Suze. Thinking of her today. Mm-hmm. Hope she's doing well. Absolutely love and adore Suze, and I love the work that she's been doing behind the scenes with Jeff and all those guys over at the GARF. I never thought 3 years ago on this day that we would be doing something like this and have something like the GARF to help preserve and promote George's legacy and hopefully inspire other filmmakers and have a place with George's name attached to it that is, extremely positive and welcoming for young filmmakers, old filmmakers, fans alike. I think we're seeing the start of a very interesting time in a post George Romero world.
All right, it looks like everybody's in the waiting room, so I'm going to go ahead and add our guests one at a time here. Let's see. Hello there.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, I have white hair now. I'm old.
Love it. And happy belated birthday to you.
Oh, thank you. Very nice to be here.
So we have Lori Cardille, we have Michael J. Tomaso, and Beef Treats Mark Tierno joining us for the Day of the Dead watch along.
Hello.
Well, welcome everybody.
Okay, and if any of you are going to be queuing up with us, we just ask that you have the volume all the way down, so we don't get into any rights trouble.
Yeah, we don't know if Zuckerberg's tuned in, so we want to keep it on the down low. We don't know what he's up to these days, so or maybe he's a big Day of the Dead fan and we don't know it, and he's going to let it slide. I don't know. So.
Okay. It looks like we're approaching 7 o'clock here. So if everybody wants to get hopefully you have your screen on the United Film Distribution Company Presents credit. And Matt, if you're find my remote, if you're ready, you can go ahead and do the countdown.
All right, guys, get your remote in hand and let's do it. We're going to count it down. 5, 4, 3, 2,
oh no.
1.
Sorry.
Go.
All right, we're off and running.
Quickly. Hey.
I don't remember this in Day of the Dead. I don't remember
either.
That phone call.
Have the director's cut.
So we got the lovely Lori Cardille on our screen and our computer monitors. This is something fun. We've been doing this on the WGON network since the pandemic started, just as a way to gather everybody in one space. And, I'm down in my basement, so I feel like I'm locked down in a mine in a bunker sometimes. And, God bless Zoom. I should have bought stock in Zoom back in January.
My husband did. He said, I better buy Zoom. Not a lot.
And retire on that Zoom money.
Yeah, really. But this isn't Zoom, though. This is a different thing. StreamYard?
No, yeah, it's called StreamYard. Yeah, it's something super simple. I mean, Zoom is simple as well, but this is just something neat that people can plug and play right on their computer and not have to worry about anything.
Mm-hmm. No signing up required.
Yep.
Oh, there's a friend of mine, Gareth. He's watching from England. I can't believe it. his wife, he and his wife Katie. Oh, that's so nice.
Well, yeah, obviously, you know, this is the
Good night there.
3 years ago to the day George passed. So I you know, I want to go ahead and kind of ask everyone. We'll start with you, Lori. Can you recall, you know, the first time you ever met George?
Oh gosh, I think I met him when I was like in the I was about 14 years old, and it was Night of the Living Dead, maybe not even that old. Yeah, and Night of the Living Dead was playing, and my dad was in it, Chili Billy, and so there was this limo that came and picked us up, and we went down to the Stanley Theater, and that's when I first met George. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was many years ago, 1968, I think, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, but it's hard to believe he's been gone 3 years. Unbelievable.
What was your impression? Your first impression meeting him?
Honestly, I was so scared to be watching a scary movie that I was like out of my body. I didn't care who I met or what. I just thought, oh my God, I have to go watch a scary movie. I really hated horror movies, and I didn't understand why people like to be scared. And I was going because it was my dad and everything, but I was terrified, honestly. I was thinking, how am I going to get through this? But I'm sure, I don't know. I don't even remember. I really, honestly, I was that frightened. Yeah, it's true. Terrible. Yeah, but yeah, it's so cool that this opening that they used this on Stranger Things recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Season 3 had there's a scene in I think the first or second episode, and the kids go to the theater and they're playing Day of the Dead, and they actually show Day of the Dead on the screen as the kids are watching it, which was a nice little Easter egg or homage, whatever you want to call it. That the hugely popular Stranger Things gives a little love to George and Day of the Dead in one of the episodes. So that kind of blew up Facebook for a day.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Mark, how about yourself?
Yeah.
Same question. First time you met George Romero, and what were your impressions?
I think it's when I auditioned for Night Riders. I think that was the first time I met him, and I believe it was he and Chris, Forrest Romero at that time. And then, that was probably the first time. I was offered, in Night Riders, I was offered a role of a courtier. And, I was working, I had a full-time job, and I couldn't be there all the time. And I thought, the option was to quit the job. And I just thought, no, I'm going to do that. So instead, when I turned it down, they offered me the troupe magician.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's where I believe that's where I met.
So
the first time.
In your audition, did you have to perform a magic trick? Because if people don't know, you are a magician. So
no, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
You
didn't have to saw George in half or anything to get the part or anything, did you?
I didn't. I switched, but I had them switch places magically. He and Christine. No, I didn't. I'm not sure how they found out. But at any rate, I believe that's the first time I met them. Yeah.
Before we move on, Ramona's asking, she reminded me to mention that we are doing a giveaway. I'll ask, hopefully Ramona can post that link once again in the chat, but we're giving away, I believe it's 3 GARF t-shirts, a Day of the Dead poster, and I think there's also like a GARF mug care package. So, and we'll be announcing the winners at 9 o'clock. During intermission. So
and let me apologize to Ramona that I don't have a GARF t-shirt.
you didn't get the memo.
Right. Right. All of a sudden my screen goes black.
Where'd Mark go? I lost Mark.
Oh, Hi, Mark. Hi, Michael.
Hi, how are you?
Lori,
Good to see you.
And Michael, how you doing down there in Florida?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, coming in clear.
Okay. This is my first time doing this sort of thing, so I'm just sitting back and just taking it all in. I'm in my rocking chair in my room. I feel like I'm in a retirement home.
What was your first encounter with George Romero, Michael?
Well, making Day of the Dead in December 1984, when I played the football player zombie. I was just in the Sanibel Island, the Bowman, not the Bowman, the mosquito control base at Lee County government owned there, coming through that gate there, and that was the first time.
Mm-hmm. What was your impressions, or were you familiar with his work?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's why I applied for it. And when I got there 6 o'clock in the morning, it looked like I was the one of the youngest people there. Because even though I was 20 at the time, I looked like I was about 14 or 15, and I could hear all the other extras around whispering, "Who's that little boy? What's he doing here? He doesn't look old." So the sun's coming up, then before I see Christine running around, and then who I'd seen from the films before, and then I saw Tom Savini, and he looked right at me, and he says, "I'm going to start with you."
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So they started with me, and it was a very exciting experience for somebody who's just been a fan of these films, and then all of a sudden you're right there and you're a part of it. And I remember doing that scene coming through the gate, having to do that twice. And George was very cool about it. And Mike Gornick was there. I had my watch on in the scene coming through the gate. And I remember doing that scene that you see coming through the gate, and then George yelling, "Cut." And he says, "Well, that's great, but mailbox 22, come on." And I figured, oh well, that's it. He called me out specifically. It said mailbox 22 along the front because the jersey wouldn't fit properly, and they had to turn it around. That's what Gary Clark told that to me about 8 years ago. He says, the reason why things were the way that they were with that, and you were so much smaller than the extra who played the football player zombie in the Wampa Mine scene, and Michael Honey Baby, I hate to break this to you, but the extra that played the part as the football player zombie in that scene was also a woman.
Oh wow!
And it fit her properly. That's why when you see the extra in that scene, it just says 22, but mine says mailbox 22 coming through the gate, because the costume designer had to turn it around so it would fit me properly.
I think we should let the audience know that that one shot of the elevator, the top of the elevator, was filmed in Sanibel. But when the elevator goes down into the shaft of the mine, that was our very first shot that we shot. It was shot in Monroeville. It was a very cold October day, maybe late September, freezing day. Oh no, it was Halloween. That's right. It was Halloween night. And we shot that, and as it goes down, so they had to have 2 of each zombie, prominent zombie. That's what Michael's explaining. Yeah. And so it was really, really cold. But that was the very first shot that we shot of Day of the Dead, of it coming down into the mine.
Yeah, because all of that, because you came to Florida last, correct?
We came last, yeah. So we didn't do the top part until December, right?
And how did George discover, Lori? How did George discover you for the role?
Well, I was in New York. George and I went to the same university. We both went to Carnegie Mellon, and although I knew George, remotely from my dad of him, I was living in New York at the time, and I was doing a play by Craig Lucas called Reckless, and it's a great American play now. But we were like making this play together. And the character that I played was on stage the whole time. She is a serious comedy. She takes the play and she just talks. And It's funny and sad. It's serial, it's tragedy. It's hysterical. Anyway, so he was in the audience with Christina and I think Richard Rubenstein, right? So afterwards they asked us to go. We went out and he offered me the part. He said, "I'm writing this part." So he saw me in that play, and I guess he realized I could carry a big part like that. And he liked the play, he liked my performance, and it was just, it was amazing. He said, "I'm writing this thing right now. I really would like you to be in it and play the part." So it was quite something.
And was filmmaking on your radar?
I had done a lot of television film. I did a couple film WGON. I did a nighttime television. I was on 2 soap operas as running characters, Edge of Night and Ryan. So at that point, I had been on Broadway with Jessica Tandy and Glenda Jackson in a play called Rose. I had done a lot of TV. I did a thing on CBS called Parole with James Naughton and Ellen Barkin. It was her first thing. And it was a movie, a CBS movie. So I had a lot of experience, but I'd never done a major motion picture and a major part in a big film. So it was a great experience for me.
Nice.
And Mark, how did you get discovered again for the film?
For this?
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how. I got called in to read for one of the soldiers, actually. And it could be the soldier that Greg was, but probably mostly physically, I wasn't. Probably didn't see me as a soldier. So, but they, I think it was Chris that called me and said, "But we'd like you as a featured zombie, as one of the primary zombies." And I said, "Okay." And here I am in the corral.
Yeah.
Coming.
How long was this? Did this scene take? What was the process like?
Well, this scene took a while, I think. Right, Lori?
Oh yes. Oh, you mean in the corral? That scene?
Yeah, the corral.
Oh yeah, that was great. It took a long time. It was cold and dank, and
Yes, it was.
see our breath, and yeah, it was exciting and interesting though.
Yeah.
Scary too, wasn't it? It was frightening because it was dark back there.
Yes, it was.
Right? And
action and
yeah,
that was dark back there.
Yeah, it's a complicated scene though. You can see, I mean, how many cuts and how many different things are happening, and it's chaotic, and yeah, it's a wonderful scene.
And my hat gets knocked off, and
right,
I'm called an asshole, and that wasn't even in the picture. No, it was.
Was it? Yeah. I think people don't realize how close we all are as friends too.
Yeah.
We're all very close, all of it. Yeah. We've remained friends, all of us, for all these years. So that's given.
We all know that George pretty much allowed for actors to kind of improv. How much latitude did he give you guys in scenes like this, where it's a complicated scene and it's action packed and it's kind of pivotal to set the tone? What kind of latitude did he give you guys in a scene like this?
Well, I know I can speak for myself. I came from a training where you don't ever change the writer's words. You just don't. You just don't do it. So even if he gave us permission to mess with it, I still didn't feel comfortable. I think if it came organically, then he would leave it in and say, "Oh, leave that in, leave that in." But we didn't just mess around and try to add our own thing here and there and willy-nilly. It wasn't like that. Although George, I'm sure, would be open to it, and he was wonderful that way. But I think, at least for myself, I don't know about you, Mark, and Michael, but my reverence for the script, for him, for the process was not one to, to feel like I could impose my own thing in there at the time. I thought the script was just good the way he did it. The only line I didn't like that I had to say was about he's falling apart like Jello or something. And then, yeah, it's something about Jello. Oh, I couldn't say that line. It just didn't make any sense. It was horrible. But I think when we'll come up on it, if you hear a line about Jello, it's when we're all with, yeah, we're all in that big room. Oh,
I'm the same way. I wouldn't change, but I would ask. There were several times where I would ask George if I could do something or try something out. Or,
Did he direct you to, when we get to it, flip the table and all that? Did he ask you to just be animated, or did he give you, a lot of specifics for a scene like that?
I don't think it was very specific, actually. And one of the things I was going to talk about was when Richard Liberty turned out the lights. I became. I just played being frightened, and I don't know if you can hear it, but I sort of whimpered.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't to the mic too, but yeah.
Didn't you feel once you had the makeup on too as a zombie that you could, it's so organic to put makeup on, any kind of mask work or makeup like that, that the character comes from the makeup, right? In a way, Mark, doesn't it? I mean, you get to see yourself in the mirror, and then you start doing these different movements, and then you have this thing. It's such a great process.
You're right. I'm sure for Michael it was probably the same way.
Yeah, you guys were so good. I'm telling you. You were.
Didn't have to have much makeup on. I mean, they just put a base on me, and then I realized going to the conventions that a lot of the fans tell me that, Michael, do you realize that in Day of the Dead, with all of the special effects, zombies and whatnot, you're the most recognizable. They blew up the picture in the Blu-ray, and you know that that's me. I still have the same features. They're just a little rounder now.
You didn't have any prosthetics or anything or anything.
No prosthetics. Just they did the base makeup. It was like a greenish gray, and then of course Tom put the the football player things under the eyes, and just a little bit of blood, and other than that, and then when the watch came off in that one scene when we shot it, they had to come and touch that spot up again, and that's the scene in the movie.
Well, my brother, he was on the elevator coming down on that first day of shooting, and he had all the prostheses on his face and all kinds. It was unbelievable. In fact, I have a picture of it. But he was going to a Halloween party that night, so he said, "Just keep it on, keep my makeup on," because he would go to the party that way. And, oh my God, he could not get the makeup off. He could not get the makeup off the next day, and we were trying everything. Like nail polish remover. I was scraping.
Oh goodness!
I had to call.
I don't know. Maybe they didn't expect me to be that close to the camera. It just worked out that way. And George liked what I did, because after I blew the scene with the watch on and we had to reshoot it, he actually did. I mean, I did my own from watching his films. I kind of knew how he wanted his zombies to act, so I did that. And he said, "By the way, what you did coming through the gate was great. I want you to do it again, the same way that you did it." And I did it. And what you see in the movie is what we did. We only did that scene twice.
When I had the same problem as Laurie's brother, except not by choice, because the first day I worked, was the first day of shooting. And I was in that makeup for a good maybe 14 hours, more. And I came back, it was late, and we had run over, we're into overtime. And I came back, and everybody in the special effects room was gone. Tom still denies this, but it was absolutely true. And Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger and Mike Sinner and Tom, they were all gone. I still had all this makeup on, and I could peel off the latex, but it was like a paint. It was almost like a paint. And I just couldn't. I didn't know how to get it off, and I had to go home with it and come back the next day with this stuff on. And that's when George made a rule that somebody has to stay until the last actor is finished in the evening.
That's funny.
When
Hey,
I was
Somebody asked me a question, and I just answered it. And they asked about who was my brother, what zombie did he play, and I answered it. But I hope he got it. I put it in the chat. He was a soldier zombie. So if we write
Soldier zombie, okay.
if we write the answers in the chat, will people see that?
do it in the live comments column.
Okay.
Yeah, just click on live comments and you can
Oh,
respond.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember on Survival of the Dead, each night that I was up there for 3 nights, and the first night I went back to the hotel, I stayed in makeup. I didn't get it cleaned off. And the hotel that I was staying at, your key card was locked after between like 12 and 6 a.m. or whatever. And I got back at like 5:30, and I didn't know that. So I had to knock on the door, and the guy came around the corner and stopped. And he just like looked at me with his like wide eyes. And I was like, thumbs up, I'm okay. Like he had to come in and he was looking at me. I said, no, I'm making a movie. It's just I'm in makeup still. And
yeah, I had to drive back and go deal with a toll booth operator in makeup. And who is this guy?
That's funny.
What is this?
Someone had asked a question earlier while we were talking, and this is more for Michael and Mark, since Lori kind of answered it. Had you guys seen Night or Dawn of the Dead by the time you had auditioned for Day?
Yes, of course.
I had seen. Yeah, I had.
Yeah.
I had. Yeah. Once probably. You know, once each, but yeah.
Let's see. Not to get too somber, but we were having a lot of comments about Joe Pilato. What was it like working with Joe, especially with such a tense scene?
That's really sad. Yeah, he was great to work with. Joe was a fabulous actor. He did mostly theater. He's a really good theater actor, and really, really smart guy. Very well versed in everything: politics, history, whatever's happening, pop culture of the day. He really was a bright man, and it was a pleasure to work with him because he took his work really seriously. Boy, these comments are so nice. Thank you, guys. Yeah, somebody said, boy, Sarah and Miguel are the most dysfunctional relationship. I would agree.
I'm seeing these comments now. Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah. So let's talk about another cast member who's no longer with us, Richard Liberty. Let's what can you tell us about him? Because he unfortunately passed away in 2000, which was kind of before the convention scene kind of took over, and he left us before a lot of us were able to finally meet him. So what stories can you share about your time with Richard?
Well, I spent a lot of time with Richard because I've been in a lot of scenes with him, and he was just, he had so many lines, and they were complicated because he would be playing like he was confused and the words didn't make sense. And then he had, in the scene where he's with the zombie where he drills him in the head and Bub is behind me, the gloves that he had on, the blood was really sticky. So it kept on sticking. And, these are little things you don't think about, but, we had to break tape a lot though, because the lines were so convolutedly confusing and his things would stick together. And that was a complicated scene, but he did such a good job. And that one effect with the drilling of the head. Now, Richard was a consummate actor. He also did a lot of theater. He was a theater actor. And, he right before he died, he called me and he said, Lori, I want to tell you about these things. They have these shows and you sign autographs. And he said, it's really weird. I don't know if you want to do it or not, but it's a really interesting concept. And it really was before maybe they were doing Star Trek things, but that was very, very new. And he was telling me all about it, and then he passed away. Yeah, that was a shame. But he was a funny guy. He cracked us all up, and he was intense. A really good actor.
Yeah, he really.
To his credit.
I totally agree.
Yeah, right. Do you remember that, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I just felt privileged to even work with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew that because we didn't share any scenes. The same thing with Ralph Romero.
Yeah.
Oh, Ralph too. Ralph died in a car accident, and he already had survived cancer, which is really sad.
Mm.
Yeah, it's, you know.
Yeah, it's hard to not watch the movie and talk to you guys. Like I'm,
Right.
Lori, you and Richard are going back and forth, and it's just the intensity that you bring in those scenes with him, and the way Richard plays it. His mind's always running. The character's mind is always running, and
Right.
he's so sympathetic to these to these zombies and everybody. He's so wrapped up in his work. He's emoting a lot with his eyes. If you watch his eyes in these scenes, they're always moving, and it's always like there's something going on behind the scenes, and it's definitely a different layer that I don't think George probably intended that character to have, and I think Richard's performance,
Excellent.
Richard
right.
just brought that and added it all on his own. I don't know. Maybe he didn't try it, but it's just one of those things where he's into that character.
Yeah.
Excellent. He did such a good job. And, it's not easy to play confused. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. And he did it so well, really well. And
Lori, it looked like you were about in the scene. You almost threw up. That made me think, was there ever a moment when looking at all this gore that it actually turned your stomach in real life?
That's a good thought, but no, not really. You know why? I started to I learned how to love horror movies through the fans, honestly. And so of course, making it is so different. And I'm not squeamish at all. I'm just not squeamish with guts and stuff. It doesn't bother me. So it didn't bother me, but it bothered Sarah right there at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta ask, were there any times during any takes, especially with Terry and Jarlock, that you guys couldn't hold it together? Because it just seems like
yes.
the two of them just seem to have a great relationship on and off the camera that I could only imagine multiple takes of you guys just doubled over in laughter.
So many times. And yes, that's oh God. When that scene that took forever to shoot in the where Joe Pilato is marching around in that big room, and we're standing there, and then Richard comes in, and that took like 4 to 5 days to shoot that scene. I'm not kidding. It was I don't know why, it was just took forever. And the thing that I kept on cracking up and that everybody would start laughing is because Joe had these lifts in his shoes. Because I'm tall. I'm very tall. And so he had these high heels on it. He'd be clomping around, acting really tough. And it just was funny. And it would always strike me funny. And I don't know. We just, got silly. And once you get silly, you know what that's like. I always call it the church laughter, or where you can't laugh and you really pee your pants instead. And we did a lot of that. But, there's a lot of money in these takes, though. That's the other thing. We were using real film, and you don't want to screw up. It's not like they could, it was videotape or anything. That was expensive stuff. But oh God,
I was so mortified about having to do my scene twice. It's my first film. I know they were using film, and I know how expensive it can be.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh yeah. I'll tell you. Yeah, Terry and Jarlath and I are really close friends. We do a lot of shows together, and Mark too, and we are very, very close friends, and we're really funny together. I'm telling you. I told somebody you should write a comedy for us. The three, we're really goofy. We're so goofy together. We just had so much fun in England, didn't we, Mark? That was
it was great.
Yeah, with Marcus Lewis and his wife Tracy.
For Weekend of the Dead, right?
Oh yeah.
Weekend of the Dead.
Wonderful.
Right when the pandemic was just hitting too.
Yeah.
And
We just
had
made
so much fun.
it out. But it
Yeah, I
was,
think you guys got back just in time, didn't you?
yeah, I did.
Just under the wire.
I was working at for the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust at a place called Liberty Magic, downtown Pittsburgh. And I came back, I worked one day, and it closed, along with all the theaters in Pittsburgh. Yep.
Jason asked, how did it feel being the only female? I kind of liked it, actually. There were females, like Deborah Gordon, and, a lot of females on set. But, yeah, it was kind of cool being the only female.
Yeah.
Deborah Gordon, but she was a zombie.
Yeah, she was a zombie.
Yeah. Only live female. Let's be specific.
The only live female.
But and I mean, we can't talk about this scene in the big room without talking about Gary Clark. I mean,
oh yeah,
the character of Steele is such an asshole.
Yeah.
But Gary Clark is like the biggest teddy bear in real life.
He is.
You know, I mean, talk about casting against type. I mean, he looks the part and he plays the part, but he is just one of the absolute sweetest human beings I've ever had the chance of meeting.
Absolutely.
And once you get to know Gary and after you meet him and then you watch his scene, you're like, wow, totally different than the guy I just met.
Oh,
I feel the same way. You know, he calls me on the phone a couple times a year. And I said, and if my mom or my brother answer, I go, no, that's Gary. Now, he's not shouting. That's just the way he is.
yeah. I owe him a conversation. But everybody knows that when you get on the phone with Gary, you better put aside an hour or two.
Yep. Grab a couple drinks and a sandwich because you're going to be there for a while. Yeah. It's been a while.
He'll call you.
Loved. I had such a crush on him on the set. I mean, was a married woman with a little baby on the set, and I had a crush on Gary Clark.
No kidding.
I told him years later. I love his.
What did he say?
Really? I don't know. You ask him. He was a football player.
Individual. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's so kind, and he was a football player for, was it the Saints? Yeah, he severed his Achilles heel. Oh, what a great guy! Yeah, he has a wonderful family, wonderful children, and a really good human being.
Yeah.
Our politics aren't very similar, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I know he popped in as soon as we started, but John Amplis, another wonderful human being who just absolutely brings it in this role, and in Martin, again, another sweetheart of a person. I mean, he just, every scene he's in, just, there's something about John's presence that just, it's very subtle, it's understated, right. but he's there. And, I don't know if John's still watching. I want to say hi to John. Always love seeing him and everything, but
he should be on this. Yeah, for sure. He is. I just talked to him on the phone the other day. I mean, we're all like old ladies, all of us calling each other. Oh, hi, Mark. How you doing? To see each other.
Right. It is pretty unbelievable that we, after so long, I mean, I don't have other projects that I've done, other films and things that I keep after so long that I have, because we just feel like a family. I mean, it's like everybody's so close.
Yeah.
And, this is something that Lori and I did. Lori,
right.
She was the major star.
We did a short film. It was a really nice film too.
Yeah, won awards and things.
Yeah.
It is a great film.
Yeah, it's a comedy. I play his sister, and I'm really crazy. And he plays the milkman. He's really good. Mark, you were great in that. Oh my God.
Oh, you were. It was so great.
Yeah, we're great. So great. It was a student film. Yeah. We were helping some students out, and they turned out to be excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a senior project for Garrett. All
right, I've got another surprise guest to add to the stream. It's Mr. Terry Alexander.
Oh, yay!
Oh,
yay! Oh, that's so great.
Hey there. Hey there.
Hey.
I hear you, but I don't see you.
Oh, you don't see me?
You have to press the video.
I had to do something. I'm not sure about all these different venues. Let's see. What am I doing?
There you are.
Oh, good. This is tiny. I'm on my little phone here, so this is very strange. How are you all doing?
I love your mustache. Wow, when did you grow that? That's new.
After I saw you in March. And we're still alive and healthy, which is wonderful.
Oh my God.
Wonderful.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
We were just
get out of there, will you?
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Alexander. We're doing a watch along, and we're actually in the scene where Joe Pilato is kind of delivering his intense monologue to the group.
Where he clumps along in that room.
Yeah, we were just sitting here reminiscing, listening to all the stories, and this is a pleasant surprise.
Yes, so thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's just another Day of the Dead we're living through here now. One of the most interesting things about Day of the Dead when we shot it is that every day when we went into that cave, we had to wear a mask
Oh, that's right.
just to breathe.
Oh my God, I forgot. Well,
And
we did wear masks.
every day
That's
when
right.
the sun didn't, yeah, we did. Between takes, we take off the mask,
Yes.
do the scene, go back off set, and put on the mask. It is important now to put on the mask
Yeah,
because
we
we went
all,
through that before. You know,
we all
that's
have.
what's so interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I just finished recording. George wrote a book called The Living Dead, and he wrote it. It's a beautiful book, and he died in the middle of writing it. And Daniel Cross, he wrote The Shape of Water, finished the book, and so I did the audio book version. I played a lot of characters in that. It's coming out on August 4th, but if anybody, it's going to be it's a wonderful, wonderful read. And George was so prolific with his writing. You can't imagine how much stuff he has that's not produced. So I think George is going to be around. So much new material is going to be coming out, and Suze is really great about keeping that alive and having people working on things. And a lot of George is going to be coming out, and it's wonderful.
It's excellent.
Yeah, no, we're excited for that. Again, like we had said with Jeff earlier, like we're hungry for anything George related,
right?
And the GARF is helping that appetite, and I forgot that they had said you were doing the audiobooks. I'm not an audiobook kind of guy, but I'll definitely pick it up, knowing that you're involved in it. That'll be a fun for some of the road trips, and
it's 18 hours.
Oh, you're kidding! Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like the book is about 700 pages, right? I do it, and a man named Bruce Davidson, he does the other half. Well, it's not half and half; it's split up all throughout the whole thing. But it's great. You guys are in for a real treat. You think you know zombies? Wait till you read this book. It's great.
Nice.
And Terry, I wanted to ask you. I'd kind of asked everyone already, just about your first encounter with Mr. Romero and how you acquired the role in Day of the Dead.
Yeah, I heard that they were looking for an actor who could do a Jamaican accent, and I do accents, and I got the material from George on the day I was supposed to audition, and I read over it, and I said to myself, this is beautiful. This is extraordinary. This is literate. It's great. So when I went in to see him and Christine, I said, listen, George, please just give me overnight. This is so good. I'll come back in the morning and I'll bring you something very special. And he said, okay, come back tomorrow. When most directors don't say that. They say,
Incredible, Terry.
you know, just go ahead and move on, please. Next. So it was very special for him to give me the time, and I took my time, and I rehearsed it and slept with it and came back, and he loved it. And that was my first wonderful experience with George Romero, being an understanding and cool person.
No.
Were you familiar with his films before you auditioned?
Yeah, of course. Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the, of course. I understood what he was writing about, and it's still very prevalent to this very day that zombies are out there, the zombie part of ourselves that refuses to die.
He is so ahead of his time. He was so ahead of his time, right, Terry?
Absolutely, he was so ahead of his time.
He would just be fine. He said, I'm glad I moved to Canada. Oh, yeah. He was ready.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew he was so ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking about that earlier with Jeff. It's like horror filmmakers had a crystal ball. They kind of knew where we were going to get, and they wrote it down and they filmed it. And when you go back and watch those films of the last 30, 40 years, just how relevant they are today. They may not look relevant in terms of aesthetics, but the subject matter, the story, man, it's spot on. They couldn't make this stuff today like they did.
Right.
Before I forget, I had a question about the corral scene. Did you guys film all the corral scenes at once?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, they were all right.
Yeah, different days.
Had mine.
Mm.
And
That set was amazing, though, wasn't it? Cletus Anderson did the set. That was a beautiful set.
Beautiful, beautiful set.
And I had another question that popped up in the comments about Sarah's research. I mean, it seems that the character of Sarah is really critical of Dr. Logan's his process and what he's working on, but it's never really stated what Sarah's actually working on. Do you have any insight into that?
Oh gosh. She was trying to figure out what is making them. Well, it's funny you say that. Well, he. Let me think about that, okay? Oh,
Yeah, it's something to think about because zombies have now evolved into like the Train to Busan, this Korean film, that as soon as they touch you, or to lick you, or come near you, you turn into a zombie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's not the point. I mean, they do some nice effects and crawling all over the train, but the whole point is that there's a death and then there is a resurgence. And that's a great symbol. And George's films were always full of wonderful, wonderful symbols and wonderful social commentary. That's what I love about him.
Yeah. Sarah was trying to understand also, like, what is turning them into zombies. He was trying to understand, Logan she was pissed because he was making them like trained seals, she thought, using as specimens. And she knew he was so crazy that whatever he was just like Mangala in a way with the zombies, and she was trying to be scientifically accurate and still trying to adhere to science, just like some of the people in our government are still trying to adhere to science where people are not listening. But anyway, yeah, that's a really good question. That nobody has ever asked me that question all these years.
It's true.
Yeah.
Right. I seemed like I always wondered, was she maybe trying to work on a cure, perhaps?
Yeah, if we're trying to find out what is making them. Yes, definitely a cure. What makes them? Why are they infecting? What do they have in them that infects the other person that makes them a zombie?
Because that was a running theme in his later films of people that wanted to keep their dead loved ones alive just in case a cure were to come along. It seemed like it was something on George's mind.
Isn't that like people that get their heads cut off or cryo? What is that?
The cryogenic, they get frozen, right?
In case down the road they'll find a cure.
Like Walt Disney is.
Yeah. They'll throw their heads up.
And also, I think, with the first Night of the Living Dead, there's this suspended disbelief. They didn't really want to believe that their loved ones were dead, and that hopefully that there was hope to maybe convert them back. That's just the impression I got.
I remember. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
No, in Night of the Living Dead, I thought that was so creepy when it was first introduced, that people were coming out of the grave with what they were buried in, Oh my God, that concept in the beginning was just frightening as hell. Just horrible. Horrible. So good. I mean, think about it. And cannibalism, man eating man. And just how revolutionary was that? And somebody mentioned the music. John Harrison's score is fantastic. I think the music of that is really great.
Yeah, the music almost plays a character.
Right.
Yeah. Terry, we're in the middle of your big scene with your conversation with Laurie. Can you talk about filming that? And I was curious, was that the portion of the script you read that really made you want to to secure the role.
That was it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was it. That's what I auditioned with. And in fact, we had gone down out of the cave, down to Florida, and we shot some of the stuff down there and came back to go back into the cave. And that was the last day of shooting.
No kidding.
We shot that scene. Yes, the last day of shooting.
I
And
know.
after that,
pimple on my face, so we had to reshoot it. I remember it was like a boil on my face, and honestly, they had to reshoot that scene, and I remember feeling so guilty because they said that we had to use insurance or something for the shoot. I don't think I've ever told anybody about that, but I had 104-degree temperature during that.
Yes, we all got sick. Yeah,
Oh.
that very day, the last day of the shoot,
Yeah.
I got sick when I did the speech. George got sick, and the assistant director had to take over, and you got sick too. It was because everybody was getting sick all along, but that was the last day of the shoot. So I had a lot of time to think about it, and we read it a couple times, rehearsed it a couple times in Pittsburgh, and on the set, and we went at it. And
Terry,
so
you did such a great job. That is such a beautiful scene. I mean, your monologue there is fantastic. Really
it's well written.
Yeah, it's my favorite scene in the film. I'm a sucker for great monologue scenes that the whole scene just captivates you. You know, Terry, you definitely you're very you're there. You're not super animated, and you get it all across from a seated position. Mm-hmm. And you definitely, the character you play, he's just like, I'm just here for the ride and the booze, and I'm gonna ride it out. And it's such a stark contrast to the other two warring factions. You and Jarloff's characters are just kind of being pulled along. You guys don't really have an agenda except just to, like you said, find a beach and live out your days. And it's almost there's three different groups in the film. And each one's pulling in its own direction.
Absolutely. George attacks the military and the medical profession, and he just lays it out there for you. Who's doing what to whom? It's amazing. It's just amazing. So we had a lovely time. We had a lovely time in Florida too. We shot down there, and that was really nice. George had a house down there, and we hung out together. We really had a chance, me and Lori and Charlie had a chance to hang out a little bit together because we weren't in the cave from 5 o'clock in the morning to 5 in the evening or longer. So it was really cool.
That was great. Yeah.
Did you get to hang out at George's house at all on Sanibel?
Yes. Mm-hmm. It was a beautiful home. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Beautiful. How many times did he find you guys on the beach when you guys should have been on set?
Oh. Well, not many times. They had to warn certain actors not to get in the sun so they wouldn't change color.
Yeah,
that wasn't the case for me. I didn't get that announcement.
You know what? That is so true, though. Every contract I've done, you cannot get a tan. It's in the contracts. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
we've just passed Mark's scene where he's flipped the table here. Talk about that a little bit, filming that scene, Mark.
Yeah. I think I might have just done that my own. I don't remember that in the script. But yeah, here's where he where I'm not behaving, so he.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Richard delivers that line so well. He's so convincing, but he clearly out of his mind a little bit.
Yeah. I'm not Bub, but I am partially humanized, and so the dark scares me. And I'm like, he's punishing me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of people don't pay attention, but as soon as he closes that door, there's mall music from Dawn of the Dead in there, a small little Dawn of the Dead cue.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yep.
No, I had no idea.
It's very subtle and very synthetic, but it's in there. So next time you happen to be watching it, just listen for that scene and you'll hear it. It's like 4 beats.
Okay.
And when did the beef treats designation take hold, Mark?
I'm not sure. It could have been. It could have been like starting with conventions, and I needed a name, and I think that's where it came about. But and in fact, I'll get it. I'll get one. Let me just stand up for a moment.
Okay. Well, thinking about it, Terry, did you ever have any scenes with Bub?
With Bub?
Yeah, I don't think you guys shared any screen time.
No, we didn't. We didn't share much. I didn't share too much screen time with zombies, except right at the end. And that was sort of aiming in the right direction to get things done.
I have here a can of beef treats.
Oh boy.
Where'd you get that? That's great.
Yeah. It actually Lee Carr came up with the idea. But yeah, it's just that we made these labels and put them on cans of peas. And I still have a couple of them. And it says, when you're fresh out of filet mignon.
We need to get in touch with Taurus Entertainment and get that on store shelves immediately.
There you go.
So I have a question. It's something I like to ask. Obviously, Make Day, it comes out. You guys get to go see it. But then years pass. So when was the first time you kind of realized that this movie was sticking around and it had this fan base to it, that people were really into Day of the Dead?
Wow.
Very
well,
years later. It was years later. I came out in 84. They didn't catch up with it probably for a good 10, 12 years or more.
At least, yeah.
It was a while because the designation and the movie people saying it's a R or a C or whatever they wanted to say, it didn't quite catch on. But little by little, and it's still here, and it still has a great message. So I'm glad that it lasted as a classic, like some of his other movies.
Yeah, that's
for me. I went to a convention here in the Pittsburgh area in Monroeville, and it was the first time that John Amplis had done a show, and I just went to see it, and Greg Nicotero was there, and both of them said, "Mark, you really got to do these shows," and I'm like, "Sure." Nobody knows me, and at that same show, people were coming up to me and asking for my autograph.
I was one. Someone said the beef treat zombie is over there, and I grabbed my poster and ran over.
And I charged them $50. And
you did.
And that's what convinced me. And so it was John Amplis and Greg Nicotero, and coming to that show. But yeah, that's when I thought, hey, there is this fan base around this film. Yeah, Laurie.
Yeah.
Yeah. What year was that, Mark, that you did that first?
That was 08.
Yeah, I was going to say. Probably
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah, it was late. And I think that when people realized that it was George's favorite, I don't know if it still is or was at the end of his life, but we had such a great experience together on the shoot. We all loved each other, and felt like we were creating something really special. And so disappointed when it came out. I can't tell you, really disappointed, because we knew it was really interesting and good, and I think that people expected it to be Dawn of the Dead, and it just certainly wasn't, and they expected something lighter and more along that line. It was such a disappointment that it was so dark,
You were disappointed by its lack of popularity upon release. Is that what you mean?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very disappointed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't seem as popular at first.
What was that, Michael?
It didn't seem as popular at first, but it's a classic now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's right up there with the other two as far as the fans are concerned.
And it's George's favorite, so.
Oh, go ahead. Also, it doesn't look as dated as a lot of other films from the same era, from the same time period, rather.
You're
Because
right.
you're in a cave.
Mhm.
There's military uniforms and lab coats, and you're not seeing cars. You're not seeing the outside world.
It does have a timeless kind of a look.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, even Sarah's hair wasn't like 80s hair, you know? It
Yeah.
was great. It was just, God, thank God
Well, I
Sarah
always thought it
had
should
good
be.
hair.
I always thought it
Shoulders,
Damn.
shoulder pads. Thank
Shoulder
God.
pads and a perm, that would have dated
Yeah,
this
right,
movie.
a
should be glam rock. Yeah. Added.
We had a question from the comments. Did any of you have any souvenir props that you got to keep from the film?
I have a I was a zombie, a Day of the Dead hat. We have a couple of those. I gave it all my things away to a friend of mine, Robert. He came in, he was a big fan, and I gave him everything. I gave him everything. Yeah. And I think it's been sold and somewhere else now, but that's okay. Whatever. It's that people will take better care of it than I would have. That's for sure. Although my husband, he was the hand going through the wall, and he kept the prosthetics that they put on the hand, and he had it like this weird crinkly hand thing, and it just disintegrated at some point. I had the rocks. That I hit over Tim over the head with, Miguel. I saved those too. I may have one of those upstairs, yeah. But I gave
The newspaper that they gave me when I after I did the film, the Dead Walk, Christine handed it with me. I think it's over there on the wall. Yep, there it is. You can
cool,
see it.
cool.
Oh, cool.
I have to get my thing to plug my computer. It's just about to die.
Okay.
Alrighty.
I had one of the latex masks, but it disintegrated, and I had the teeth, and I think I wore them to a Halloween party. I lost them. Is what it
Oh
is.
no, the choppers.
Yeah, and that was a traumatic, actually getting the mold for that, because I went to Tom Savini's studio, and he took a mold of my face and my hands, and then he took a mold of my teeth, and I don't know whether he left it in too long, but it was just so hard. But maybe that's just the way they do it. It was so hard to get them out, and I thought it was going to pull out my teeth.
Uh-huh.
But from that, he made so many copies of the teeth I had that I wore.
I'm just hoping Terry kept a sweater from that scene, because that's a stylish sweater.
All the stuff is disintegrated.
He's got 3 threads left, and he keeps them on the shelf.
It's like Lionel's blanket, it just disintegrated from the dust. No, really, I can't tell you how wonderful I feel that the movie is now in classic sort of dimensions. It's really cool, and I'm going to go, but George Romero, I was doing a play at the Pittsburgh Public Theater, written by another Pittsburgh giant named August Wilson, and it won a bunch of awards. And George came out to see the show, and we had a couple of drinks afterwards. But the most extraordinary honor for me is George came back a second time to see the show.
Wow.
It was a great honor, and I just adore that moment in my life. And just to say, George was a very special person, and he's truly missed. Truly.
Indeed.
Oh, he is. Yes, he came to visit my dad a week before my dad died. He and Suze were driving up from a show they were doing somewhere, and they found out my dad was really sick, and he stopped by, and it was really something, you know. It was really
One of a
So
kind.
listen, guys, I'm going to book out of here. I just
All
wanted
right.
to join you and just say hello, and you guys keep going on strong.
Thank you so
Love
much,
you,
Terry.
Terry.
Thank you, Terry.
All right.
Thank
Love
you.
you, sweetie.
All right, bye
Bye,
now.
honey.
Bye.
Thank you. Wow. I'm really glad he had a chance to stop by. I want to thank Jim Cirinella for inviting Terry to come along. Thank you so much, Jim.
Jim's a
Yeah,
beautiful guy.
that was a great surprise. Even I wasn't aware of that, so that was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Lori, we have a question for you. How many parents have approached you and told you you're the perfect female movie role model for my daughter to look up to?
You know what? Honestly, a lot of people. Honestly.
Really?
Oh yes, absolutely. And a lot of young women. There's Victoria is listening, and has been a fan of the film, and she was working on a PhD in horror and strong women, females in the horror genre. It was a great role model for. There weren't many strong females in the genre prior to. They had Sigourney Weaver, of course, did the sci-fi. And, for the horror genre, she was one of the first strong females, and it was quite an honor to play that. But yes, I get a lot of that. It was quite an honor to play a strong character like that.
Yeah, I have to do a 80s final girl showdown. You, Linda Hamilton from the Terminator, and Sigourney Weaver. I think that would be a hard group to pick the ultimate from.
Mm-hmm.
My money's on Lori.
Oh, guys. Oh. Oh.
Sorry, I'm trying to scroll through the comments here. We just passed the scene where Miguel's arm was removed. So even that scene didn't gross you out at all, Lori.
Well, that was a wild scene. We most of the fans know the story, but for those of you that don't, the first time we shot, when I came down with the machete, it bounced off the arm because it was made out of like a plastic. It didn't go sinking into it, so they had to remake the arm out of wax, which is a great effect. And I loved how brave George was, going straight into the shot of the gut, the guts coming out of the arm and the burning of the arm. I remember thinking at the time, it's so brave to put that on film and to hold the film on that. That is not something that a lot of filmmakers at that time would do. And I think that was just a brave move on his part. And yeah, it was a terrific thing. Now they cut that scene for television when they had to do a cleaner version, but that scene took a long time. And poor Tim, it was on the cold floor, and his other arm was underneath him. And yeah, I love that scene. That's a really pivotal scene for the character of Sarah. Yeah, she sort of breaks down there and becomes probably who she was before all this happened.
And we just passed that moment where you had the breakdown and had to hug Terry. It's just a intense sequence of events there, and you kind of ran the whole gambit of emotion.
Have you guys ever watched the TV edited version with all the profanity taken out?
Sure. Yeah.
I still had it.
It plays like a comedy when they do the overdubbing, and you just sit there and laugh when you know what the line is.
That's why I wish I still had it.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't show it anymore.
I found out I found out that Brigitte Nielsen did some dubbing for what language does she speak? Whatever language she speaks. She did. Okay. She plays Sarah.
Oh,
wow.
She's
kind of a badass.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Beautiful badass.
Yeah. She can wield a sword. Yeah, I think it's Italian. So it might be in the Italian dub. I want to say Italian, but yeah, no, I I love all the understated performances on, like Jarloff is in the background looking at you, Lori, and then he's looking back at Terry, and just all the nonverbal parts of this movie just works so well.
George they cast it well. They did cast it well.
What did your dad think of you being?
Oh, goodness gracious, so proud.
Yeah.
My dad would never miss a play, in New York, or when I went to Carnegie Mellon, he came to all my plays, and he was a big supporter of my passion for my work. Let's see, somebody said, what do your children think of Day of the Dead? They don't think they mom. No, they're Katie grew up on the set. Katie and Tina Romero were Katie learned to walk down in Sanibel Island. She took her first steps there. My daughter is Kate Rogal, and my son Jake is Rogal. He was a producer on the Michael Jordan documentary that just aired. The 10-part series. I'm blanking the name of it. Come on, what is the name of it? What is it? No, it's Michael Jordan. Anyway, it was on ESPN, and my daughter's an actress, and so they are in the industry. And Katie's a writer, also, a writer and an artist.
Yeah,
following the footsteps. So it's work,
Yeah.
He just always grew up with it, so it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw your son's name on the Andre the Giant documentary a couple of years ago.
Right.
Wow.
That was
excellent piece of work.
Yeah,
that's a wonderful. He did The Last Dance. That's it.
Last Dance.
Last Dance. Yeah, he's doing one now. He's directing his first one, and it's on Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, very good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I hope your son does not get a stunner.
Let's pass that question to Michael and then Mark. How has your anyone in your family seen Day of the Dead? What was their reaction to it?
Well, when they first saw it, they were like, wow, this is really cool. Because the first version that came out was the media home entertainment VHS, and then the laser disc, which of course was very dark. It was kind of really hard to see. In fact, I didn't even realize that my eyes were open until better versions came out with the Blu-ray, and I'm like, wow, man, that's really. But they were thrilled, and my father was going, oh, my son, the actor, My grandfather was into pictures and photography and stuff, which I inherited that, always filming, taking pictures, and he was just amazed. That came out, a couple of years before he died, and he was old then, but he was just amazed because he remembered Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think my family, I'm not really sure. I mean, I really saw it, but I remember watching it with past girlfriends. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Friends, and of course they have to tease me. So.
Some relatives, they said, there's so much swearing. There was just so much swearing. I said, yeah, well, that's what it's like at the end of the world.
Yeah.
You would swear too.
It's happening now, right in the supermarket.
Yeah.
Good point. It really is. It's a sad statement.
Some of my relatives, they said, we went to see the film, but we didn't see you. They went to see Return of the
Living Dead.
Followed Day of the Dead. So they said, we didn't see you in it. I said, oh my God.
Yeah, I've heard that some folks were aware of that film actually on the set of Day. Were any of you aware that Return was a thing?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it's sad that even to this day, that film has a pretty heavy influence. Like when people mention zombies, half the time they mention brains, how zombies like to eat brains, which is a direct, reference to Return of the Living Dead.
Right.
So, let's see.
Yeah, my wife now, but when she was my girlfriend, when I first introduced her to this, I'm like, all right, this is make it or break it time. These are the movies that I love, and you got to get on board with it. And thank God she was on board with it. It took a couple of years for her to really get it. And once she got to know all you guys and everything, I think it made it better for her because she's not a horror fan.
No, she's lovely, and you are too. Yeah, Matt, you've been a big fan and a great friend
Thank
of
you.
all of us.
Oh, thank you. I love you guys. And
We love you too.
you know, I couldn't wait to get off work today to do this. I was like, my daughter was like, "Daddy, you going downstairs again?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to be down there all night." She goes, "Oh, great." She's at that sassy, sarcastic 9, you know, and it's like, oh, okay.
Wow, no.
Yeah, I'm not as cool as I used to be. You know, I'm starting to see the shine starting to wear off a little bit on my dad cred, but
oh yeah, it's so cute. I don't, you know, and everybody that's watching, I might have a great friend, Catherine Wacho, who's a wonderful musician, and Dory, her wife. They're such great friends of mine, and like I said, Victoria's watching, and Gareth, who's having a baby in England. I mean, they're the best, and Katie, his wife, and all the fans. You know, you guys are what made our film, you know, stay alive, and gave so much and taught me so much about a lot of different things. I've learned a lot, life lessons, and learned about the genre, which I absolutely love now. And, you know, just met so many wonderful fans over the years.
Mhm.
Oh, such
Yes.
people.
Yeah, speaking of Victoria, one of the things a couple of my friends like to do is pit me and her in a horror trivia contest.
Oh, wow.
Usually at conventions, because they know she can drink me under the table in horror trivia. And it's been that way for almost 20 years. And it's like, as much as I think I know, she knows her stuff. And you know,
She has a PhD, right? Doesn't she?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I know some obscure stuff, and then she's like, "Nope, you're wrong." Like last summer, they pitted me and her in another horror trivia, and I was like, "Should I even show up?" Just because she is just.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, no, she's fantastic. I mean, she's one of the best.
Lori, you worked in one of Tony Buba's films, No Pets, alongside John Amplis. Yeah, that's. Were you in there as well?
Yes,
Mark?
I'm a professor. I'm with John's professor.
We're going to have to bring you guys back for a watch along for that one, because that one is fairly unseen. I mean, I have a copy that I got directly from Tony, but otherwise,
wow. Dude.
I don't. Yeah. Have you not seen it in a while, Lori?
I haven't seen it in a while. No, and I love that script. That was written by Jim Daniels, who's a wonderful poet.
Yeah,
writes a lot about the working class, and No Pets was taken from a short story that he wrote. It's a lovely script. I thought it was really very.
I haven't seen the scene with my scene with John on my demo reel, which is ridiculous because it's so long ago. Ridiculous.
And Laurie, did you do an episode of Tales from the Dark Side?
I did, yeah, Tales from the Dark Side. Florence Bravo, I played a crazy.
I bought this just because you're in it. And, well, it's George, so of course George. I mean, this is his show, but I had to have that episode.
That was an interesting part too. That was after I shot Day, and that part was a woman losing her mind and saying that she saw ghosts and nobody believed her, and she came out of a mental hospital and had a breakdown, and there really was ghosts. It was a good
spoiler.
Yeah.
Michael, I just found that at a junk store here in.
It's the whole thing, Laurie. Every single episode.
The whole thing, all
Wow.
4 seasons, and 90 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for $5. It was $5.
Well, I think I paid a little more than that, but it was worth it. Whatever I paid.
Sure.
So.
Sure. I haven't watched it yet. I just got it last week. Just found it.
Yeah.
John Amplis is watching us right now. I did send him an invite, but he's not feeling it. He's not feeling like coming in. But hey, hi, John, and we're very happy you join us. Unfortunately, your character just met your demise on screen.
Yeah.
Do we know how many people are watching us?
Right now, it is 66. It's been kind of floating around that number all evening. So it's.
Yeah, I'm reading the comments over here. I can see the comments, and wow.
I agree. Martin is so underrated and such a beautiful film. John Amplis totally proved that he could be a leading man. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
I think Martin was a wonder. That's one of my favorites too.
That was the thing about No Pets. He's actually kind of a tough guy in that, believably so. I mean, he's really against type for what he usually plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're versatile, John. We were singing your praises.
Yeah, you are.
Love you, John.
Yep, love you, John. Yeah. And we were talking about, you guys working on other stuff. I remember getting excited when Mark did the Mercury Men for the Sci-Fi Channel a bunch of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Very noir sci-fi type little stuff. I like stuff that's a little different like that, and I was excited to watch all that. I have to go find those online. It's been a while.
Good. That was good.
Yeah, it's still on. It's still there. It's mercurymen.com. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, but
Right.
it was pretty cool too because Sci-Fi picked it up and realized. But yeah, but you're right. It's retro. It's very retro.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
They did a nice job of that.
Yeah, and Sci-Fi Channel is doing the television version in name only, pretty much, of Day of the Dead.
Yeah, we heard that.
Yeah, they're shooting that up in I think it's Vancouver.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. A friend of mine's a first AD on some of the stuff they're doing up there, and he said, "Oh, did you know they're doing Day of the Dead up here?" And I was like, "No, I didn't realize it was that far into production."
Wow.
Yep.
It's going to be
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if they do any callbacks or where they set it. It'd be nice to see some homages to George or some little Easter eggs. Considering,
Gee, Mark and Lori, maybe we should take a field trip.
Do you know who's producing it or who's doing it?
I don't. I know it's Sci-Fi Channel,
Uh-huh.
but I don't know any of the other specifics behind that. If I find out, I'll pass them along to you.
Great.
And
Well,
we'll
it's
get you.
always a compliment when somebody tries to replicate it, or tries to do something creative around the original. It's always a compliment.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I do want to mention again that we are having a contest. If Ramona, I believe Ramona's posted the link a couple of times, but it's going to close at 9 o'clock. So everybody be sure to get in on that. And also, Lori, just in case you have to leave before we start our short feature, we're actually going to be showing Iron City Ass Kickers after this, which you were.
Oh, no.
You played Luscious Lori.
I don't even know what I did. I don't think I ever saw that.
No,
What was that name?
Huh?
It was actually made in the late '90s, and I think the audience that sees it tonight will be the largest audience to ever look at it in
I
one
never
given
saw
time.
it. I never saw you in it.
I never saw it either. I never saw
No kidding.
Oh, I just remember we were dancing. Oh, I don't know. I'm embarrassed. How did you get a copy of it?
It's a friend of the show, Dave Burian. Actually, he uploaded it to YouTube, and where he got it from, I'm not sure, but it's something to see. That's for sure.
No.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep. Yeah, so that's our surprise screening in between the films. We're going to have some of the cast on as well. And,
Actually, I think we're going to have about everyone that was involved in the production.
Well, and that's what we were talking about this the other night when we were having a little planning meeting. I said the first time I watched it, I didn't even realize that was you, Lori.
Oh, I probably don't recognize myself either.
I kept waiting for you to come up, and I'm like, wait, I think that's Lori. Like it just took a while for me to recognize you at that point in the 90s. I was like, oh, there she is.
What did I do? I don't even know what I did. You said Luscious Lori?
You were kind of you were at the bar. You were the I guess they would
news reporter.
Yeah, they would kick it to you every now and then to kind of check on the action at the bar to see what the bar patron. And it was George Romero and a few other Romero alumni alongside him that were chiming in on their who they wanted to win, and apparently there was some real life drunk patrons of the bar that were participating as well, and you had to do your best to keep them under wraps because they were a little unruly.
Oh, I would love to see it. That's great. Anytime that we were together messing around was fun. I just remember we had a good time, but I don't remember what the story's about or anything.
Great.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, I was trying to read the comments too, and I was just, people are active. I mean, people are loving this, and we can't thank you guys enough for doing this, especially on this day. I mean, like you said, it's a whole family atmosphere, and we're just sitting here talking amongst friends, and
it's wonderful. I would do anything for George and his legacy, and for Suze and for all his family and all the fans. Like I said, we could never repay you all for the kindness and so much that we've gotten from the film. And GARF is a wonderful thing. The George A. Romero Foundation is doing a lot of good work. So if anybody wants to contribute, you can go onto the Instagram, probably Twitter, and find out about it.
Yeah, I mean, a $5 donation goes a long way. It's just any little bit that helps. We can't. We can't go see George at shows, and they're not releasing movies constantly for us to buy. So you can give directly to the GARF, and it helps again. New, young, independent filmmakers. George at one point was a young, independent filmmaker, and it's so easy and yet so hard to make a good independent film in these days. And encouraging that type of filmmaker and that type of creativity, I think, is what the GARF is going to really catch its niche.
Oh, here we go, my big scene.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
Like we all stop and look for Mike.
Exactly.
There he is.
Yeah, very minimal makeup on you, Michael. Just a little black under the eyes.
And this Shout Factory transfer is amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I also want to point out to the fans that that's my hand touching his sweaty face, coming down.
Oh yeah.
Like that. That's my hand.
You are too cute, Michael. Michael,
Well, I'm still cute. I'm just rounder.
no, me too, honey. Aw, you're a good person.
And there's Joe cussing his brains out.
Oh yeah.
So Michael, how long was that shot? That whole process, the coming through the fence and tearing Mikkel apart.
That took now see that was done in two parts. Okay, see what you're seeing right now is the special effects scene. I wasn't in the special effects scene. They had me coming through the scene with me coming through the gate in that one continuous shot where you see me touching Miguel's face. Then it cuts. The scene cuts and it goes to the Wampa mine scenes again, where you've got them figure out, and then they cut back, and then there's the special effects scene where they're ripping, because the woman with the flowery hat that in the scene there that has a very distinct look, she was the supervisor of elections for Lee County at the time, and I didn't know her then, but when I got a job working for Lee County government a year later, I used to work with her, and we would talk and laugh about how she got to be a zombie in the film, and she had a very distinct scene in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The family atmosphere just spreads into the professional world. I mean, that's...
Yeah, and Larry did find her. She passed away a few years ago, but she had retired and moved out of state, and Larry found her and interviewed her.
Wow.
Nice.
I just saw your continuity zombie, and yes, I can tell now that is a female.
Yeah.
I mean, can you really tell? You could tell that she's taller, and you could tell that she's not me.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can clearly see it just says 22 on the
22.
back. Yeah, on the front, where it says it on the front.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't fit.
And that's part of the fun of these watch-alongs is sometimes you pick up on stuff. We've seen this movie so many times, Eric and I and other fans. But when you get to sit and watch it in groups like this, you always pick up something new.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps keep it fresh.
And I'm always getting questions about about this online. I mean, after a day, I did a lot of, bit parts in a lot of films. Some of them were big budget, but nobody ever asked me about that. They asked me about Day of the Dead and what it was like and how I would describe working with George. That's all they want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that just shows you the type of person George was, and how his films just are everlasting. I mean, they never get old.
They've got legs.
Yeah.
And even if I never did another movie afterward, I'm just so glad I did that one. I never really wanted to be an actor. It was just something that I did. I enjoyed the science of filmmaking and everything, but I never really wanted to be an actor. It was just something that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark, how long did you spend on set? Did your scenes take?
I think it was 4 or 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And that makeup, the mask and everything, took about 2.5, 3 hours. It was in the mornings. The one thing I do remember too is that my lip kept coming off. And they had to. Oh, this is that great scene.
Tomaso.
They kept using spirit gum, and it was just. And I remember the first day eating lunch, and just food just went down my face.
Lori,
Now,
was your dad ever able to come watch you film?
Yes, he was. Yeah, he came to watch the film. Yeah.
Nice.
Great guy.
Yeah, my dad was a wonderful man.
Yes, he was.
Thank you.
Absolutely loved him.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got to meet him.
He always had a smile. Like that was his smile was captivating, lit up a room, and
he loved people. He really was. What you saw was what you got. My dad was a genuine human being.
I never got to meet him, but I did send him a letter probably about better part of 20 years ago, and he immediately replied and had all sorts of extra pictures that he included. He was so gracious.
That's nice. That's my dad. When we knew Dad was very ill and that he didn't have long to live, the Pittsburgh paper put out a story. I put it on Facebook and I said, "Would you write letters to my father to say what he meant to you in his lifetime, in your lifetime?" And we got letters from, I'm not kidding, all over the world. I am not kidding you, from Dubai, from Spain, from France. I have so many letters, and I got to read a lot of them to Dad right before he died. And he just couldn't believe that he was appreciated that much.
Yeah,
it's amazing that he got to hear those letters.
When he knew he was dying and going to die, he said, "Well, I've had a really good life. I'm satisfied." He said, "I really have had a good life." Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, people like your dad and George were cut from the same cloth, and
you were.
And I think just knowing that about him, and for those of us that have met him, just endeared us to him more. Unfortunately I didn't get the chance to grow up watching your dad while he was on TV. I didn't get to really know about him until I was, my late teens, early 20s. And I just thought how cool it would have been to watch him on TV. And, we get to watch the clips and stuff now. And I'm like, man, that would have been great to see him. And then knowing the type of person he was just, keeps the spirit alive. And, we absolutely adore him. We miss him.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah. I mean, I watched him all my childhood because my friend and I, my friend Steele and I would stay up late and watch Chiller Theater, and then also watch studio wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So for me,
studio wrestling, which is amazing that my son is doing these. That he did Andre, that he's doing, Bruno Sammartino was like my dad's best friend, and all the wrestlers. Yeah,
no kidding.
It's so Jake now is doing a lot of that. And the thing is too that my father and George, my father will be his anniversary of his death is July 21st in a few days. So he and George, died around the same time, only a year or two apart. No. So.
Someone says they remember him on Jackpot Bingo.
Oh yeah, well, he was like the local hero, in those
Mhm.
days. He was this, studio. He did the booth where they would, break in and say WIIC Pittsburgh. There was a live guy there doing that. He had the Money movie. He had many, many shows, but he's known for Chiller Theater. It was the last market in the United States where they didn't play Saturday night live. They held off because this affiliate, NBC affiliate, because Channel 11, because my father's show was so popular here. People didn't want it to go off the air.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, we're getting pretty close to the end, and I know last night you said you had some dirt that you wanted to share. Is that still on the table?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the floor is yours, sir.
Let us
Oh, let's hear it.
No, I don't remember what the dirt was. Was I?
Oh no.
I don't think I have any dirt. But yeah, those people were no. Wonderful experience, and it continues. And I just love all the fans. I love talking to people, and I love the relating to the fans, and I think both Lori and Michael do too.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, actually, and especially now, I'm enjoying talking to you, my fellow cast members and the fans, more than I do actually talking to people in my own community. Really, I know, I probably shouldn't say that, but it's true. Yeah, look, you don't need for me to explain. You all know how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100% agree, Michael.
Yeah, we all get each other. That's the great thing, is we all know why we're here. We all love this stuff. We love this community.
Mm-hmm.
It's always relevant. We can talk about news and relate it to a movie, and no one's going to blink an eye, and they'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I can drop a movie quote at work, and people will look at me. I can drop a movie quote at a convention. People are like, "Oh yeah, I get it." That's around our people. That's what I love.
What I like about you, Matt, and a lot of the fans is that you yourself, you've been in one of these films, and I have. It's like a lot of the fans that we see on a regular basis at these conventions. I mean, you're just as much a part of this for us, and and I'm sure that Lori and Mark feel the same way. I mean,
Yeah.
we're all, you're just as famous as we are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's Matt. Hi, Matt. How you doing? Yeah.
I mean, Matt, everybody knows who you are. Eric,
always there. I mean, it's amazing because you don't live that close to the Western Pennsylvania.
No, I'm down here in Florida. I'm in Punta Gorda. I'm 25 miles north of the downtown Fort Myers.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how I got in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about 3.5 hours east. I live in Hershey, and
Okay.
my wife and I went right, in the middle of the pandemic. Mad Mex was offering a Gobblerito, and my wife and I love Gobbleritos, and we drove out and had a picnic of Gobbleritos in the mall parking lot. And
Oh.
we love the city. We love coming out there. We love everything about Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It makes it extra special because of people like you and George, and just everything about being out there is just so much fun. And Eric and I we painted the town beige last month, and did our location stuff and did some show stuff, and it's just so much fun. And when you can drive around and see, well, that's where George filmed, or that's where George filmed, and just on the off chance we can all get together and have lunch or a drink or whatever is always fun, because we don't get to do it that often.
Well, I love Pittsburgh and I love Evans City. I just wouldn't be able to take the winters. I just don't know how you do it.
I'm 100% with you, Michael. I'm looking at that November potential November trip, and it's like, I don't know if I can deal with the cold up there.
Yeah.
I'm really going to try to make it. I mean, as long as they don't, I'm just afraid they might stop flights coming from Florida, because where I am, everything is cool. I mean, I don't know anybody who's been sick. So luckily, knock on wood.
My mother's best friend died of it just last week. My mother's best friend died.
My grandmother got it.
Oh, she okay?
Yeah, she was one of the lucky asymptomatic ones, and
Wow.
longtime family friend of mine passed away from it. Yeah, it's just a weird time.
Where are you? Where
Florida, 40% of the infections have only been in nursing homes. Thank goodness.
Well,
I mean,
and that's
it's
where my
terrible.
grandmother is.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother's roommate died from it. My grandmother got it, so she's 92, and I'm definitely lucky because that was my mom. My mom would drive up and visit her from the window every day.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, it's just so weird, you know. But
Like,
George,
George,
hopefully
yeah.
we'll get through it and survive, and we'll come out better.
Yes.
Lori, what is your take on? There's been a lot of discussions over the years of how you wake up on the beach. Like, was part of this a dream? Perhaps what's going on there?
Well, oh God, the audience did not like that ending. I remember them not liking it when I was in the movie theater, and but I always thought personally, George never gave an answer, of course, because he wanted the audience to make their own mind up about their experience of the film. But I always thought, no, it was not a dream; it was real.
Right.
Yeah.
Just I always thought it was a way to just kind of shoehorn in a extra jump scare unexpectedly there at the end. But I do like the way it ends. It ends in the way John would prefer it end, or Terry Alexander's character.
Yeah, that's a lovely ending. It was that music, the calypso music, and well, that's like I said, John Harrison in the film, and the music, and Tom Savini and all the guys doing the special effects. Barbara Anderson did the costumes. Cletus Anderson did the sets. There just was a great team of people, really talented people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's November 4th, so that means Day of the Dead has arrived.
Yeah.
Well, I want to, on behalf of WGON and the GARF, I want to thank all three of you, plus Terry, for coming on board, especially on such short notice. We really appreciate you guys coming on, and we'll have to get you guys back for another one soon.
You got it. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Love you guys so much.
Love you too. Thank you, everybody, for being on. We'll see you again.
Good to see you both.
Bye, Michael. Bye. Beef treats.
Bye.
Love you guys. Bye bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Bye bye.